If you grew up neurodivergent and undiagnosed, you're probably given a lot of negative labels. You're either too lazy, too finicky, too sensitive, too distractible, too hyperactive, too talkative, didn't read the room enough, you're oblivious, you're too blunt, rude, insensitive. Whatever it was, this label was applied to you because people were looking at you through the prism of their biases, prejudices, and intolerance. If you are seen to be too lazy, for example, it's because that is the convenient and derogatory label that people have in their back pocket to apply to somebody who is ADHD, who doesn't apply themselves, when in reality, the ADHD are struggling with executive dysfunction. It's a lot easier to slap a label like that on somebody rather than go, let's ask some questions, let's do some exploration. Are they lazy, or is there a struggle that's going on underneath that this person is contending with, often without a lot of help, especially if they're not diagnosed? And there's a lack of compassion, there's a lack of empathy, and people make assumptions, really gross assumptions, and they're operating on very limited data. They're looking at external traits. They're not really attuning to the internal struggle that the neurodivergent doesn't feel like they can express or doesn't know how to express because that is their norm. How do they really know that they're struggling with executive function if that's been their baseline and if they have no terms to actually apply to it? And so, understandably, when you get diagnosed, you start to take ownership of those labels. You take it back and you say, that label didn't apply to me. This is the label. I'm autistic. I'm ADHD. I struggle with executive functioning. I have motor differences. I get sensory overwhelm. And the labels become a empowering shorthand, a way to contain the chaos that you've experienced and has been often mislabeled and attributed as being a negative fault, a flaw, a moral flaw in our character, often. And we go, no, it's actually neurological. It is not this thing that you get to judge me about. It is something that I get to classify and understand. And so a lot of us can get stuck on specific diagnoses and understanding terms. And I myself love to understand a new term that kind of classifies and explains something I struggle with. Like, for example, alexithymia. For years, I haven't been able to always express and be in tune with my own emotions and actually read other people's emotions. And then I understood the term alexithymia and was like, oh, that is what I'm experiencing. Great. Something to encapsulate my struggle. And that removes it from me as being a personal flaw or a failing and puts it in a neat little box that says, this is what it is. It is a commonly observed phenomenon among neurodivergents, and it is not a result of some failing on their behalf. It is part of the wiring of the brain. And a lot of us can then find that we like to collect these labels because they explain things and they make sense of the world, especially if we are systems oriented in our thinking. If we can categorize and classify, the world becomes a lot less frightening a place, especially if this cataloging and categorizing is internal of our own internal experiences, which are often as chaotic as the external world that we're struggling to survive. And for an outsider looking in, for a neurotypical, they're like, oh, why do you need the label? Why do you get so hung up on it? Why do you need to have a term for this? It's like, because I was given a lot of negative labels, and this is empowering for me. Please don't take this away from me. Please don't poo-hoo it and dismiss it. Don't yuck my yum. It's valuable to me. It has value for me. And they will kind of look at you askance and be like, why are you being so fixated on this? You're just a human being, and this is a human experience, and everybody struggles with this. And that is an invalidation. Them saying that, which they believe that they're being helpful and that they're normalizing your experience, they're failing to understand that actually it is not a universal human experience. Yes, people might experience some version of this and in some measure, but it's never to the extent that we do as neurodivergents. So I always want to say to people like that, let me have this. Let me take this back. Let me have ownership of this thing that was never given to me. It empowers me. And I find that the desire to apply labels continues to expand in terms of other people and their mental health behaviors or traits or how I would categorize their behavior or their personalities. And some people find it's a little bit bizarre to want to slap labels on people. And as a therapist, there's a principle, an ethical principle in which you don't do that. You don't diagnose people who aren't in your care, and you don't publicly disclose that if they were in your care because of confidentiality. But as a human being walking through this world who is neurodivergent, it is actually really helpful for me to run into behavior that is bizarre, that I don't understand, that is sometimes actually destructive or harmful to me, and go, it is this, or it seems to me like it could be this, like a hypothesis. Now, these labels are not necessarily wholly definitive and conclusive. They're hypotheses, especially if they concern other people, where I'm trying to understand them as a neurodivergent, because I can't wrap my head around often how other people behave, especially neurotypicals. And then when I experience disordered behavior or unusual behavior, I want to put into this category. And it might be strange to other people. It might be judgmental, might be, which I never intend it to be. It's just like I'm putting something into a neat box so I can go, it is this, and this is the action that I need to take. If they continue to exhibit a pattern of this behavior, it indicates this. And if I know that this is what I suspect is going on, for example, in relationships, somebody who's avoidant, if they keep showing avoidant behaviors, I am going to disengage. Because personally speaking, as a recovering anxious attacher, I'm now secure when I last did the test, but that can be triggered if I'm encountering them in a friendship or relationship context, and I'm probably not going to want to continue interacting with them or engaging too much with them, because I know that they're probably going to leave me hanging, emotionally speaking. They're not going to be able to meet me where I'm at in terms of authenticity or showing up emotionally and having crucial conversations, and they'll retract in the face of my assertive communication or my requests or my communicating about emotions. I know that it's not a judgment of them. It's just the struggle that they have to work through, and that it is not a me problem. And I can go, that is what it is. I understand it. I've wrapped my head around it, and I don't need to perseverate about it, wonder what's going on, be confused, be in a state of disorientation and fear and anxiety, because I'm like, I don't know what this is. What's going on? I have clarity. So labels can give you immense clarity about yourself and about other people, as long as they're not being used as, like, at least with where other people are concerned, as definitive judgmental labels. It can help us as neurodivergents make sense of the world and wrangle the chaos that we live in. Have you found that labels have been empowering for you, or understanding other people's behaviors? Have you found that other people tend to react in sometimes critical or judgmental ways when they see you using those labels, and are dismissive and don't understand why you operate that way and why you need to systematize things? I would love to hear all about your experiences.